Hi, my name is Stefanie Turner. I'm a science teacher at a high school in Lewisville, Texas. It's called the Colony High School. I teach IPC, which is freshman, and this semester I'm teaching astronomy and AP environmental science. So I did the first blended learning class, and I'm taking this one as well. While I have not yet taught blended learning, we are currently in this at-home situation where everyone's doing everything online. So today I'm going to talk about Nearpod, which is a source that I like to use that requires a lot of engagement and feedback from the students. I'm going to talk about Padlets and how I use them for peer connection, because that's something that's very lacking online, and differentiation for different assignments. So first I'm going to start with Nearpod. Yes, so Nearpod is fantastic. One of my colleagues introduced me to it a few years ago, and he convinced LISD to buy us the upgraded teacher version, but I believe some version is still free if a teacher wants to try it out. So typically I will choose live lesson, but I enjoy Nearpod because there's also a student-paced version. I'm just going to click preview since I don't have any students here, but Nearpod provides opportunities to create a traditional slideshow, but they also add in very interesting and collaborative effects. This one right here is something called collaborations, basically a sticky note. So all my students would have the ability to let me know what they already know. It's kind of a pre-assessment before we start the lesson. So it's very helpful. You can have it moderated so students don't post anything not great for you. And Nearpod also provides like virtual 360 submersive experiences, which is great as astronomy because they have a lot where students can see the stars. I struggle a lot with doing that since I teach in the middle of the day. So I really enjoy this because the iPads, if students are using their phone, they can actually virtually move, and it helps a lot with engagement for the class. Okay, keep going. And there are also quizzes. So there are 3D models and quizzes, and I just really enjoy the immediate feedback that I can get from Nearpod, and students can take notes directly in there, so I'm a big fan. So I've been trying to use more Nearpods. It does take time to build the lesson, so oftentimes they can now link Google Slides, so I will link an old slideshow and then work on adding activities, and I imagine year after year they'll get better and better. Okay, so that's how I'm trying to do most of my lessons. My live WebEx is done through the Nearpod, but when my students go to Canvas, which is the management system that my school uses, every week I've tried to help them interact with each other. This week I did an Earth Day challenge. Last week was a little bit more successful, so I'm gonna show you that one. I asked them, what do they miss? You know, they haven't had the opportunity to talk to each other. They haven't had the opportunity to really like engage with each other. So I just kind of gave a platform for them to vent some too serious all the time. Okay. I did have one question here, if either of you might know. I'm pretty sure I learned about Flipgrid through your classes, and I love Flipgrid, but unfortunately, something about privacy in my district, I'm not able to use Flipgrid. So if you guys are aware of any other resources that are similar, I really enjoyed the video, the self-videoing that the students were able to do and how they're able to watch each other. I can have them submit a video to me, but having them interact with each other on that level has been a struggle. I could do it maybe in like a discussion post, but I also didn't want 60 different videos. You know, it felt a little clunky. So if you guys have a solution, that'd be great. And the last thing I wanted to show was differentiation. Here's a good example. So for me, I'm an on-level teacher. So I have special education students. I have 504 students. And I also have modified special education. So anytime that I do a larger assignment, I work really hard at trying to chunk it, and I adjust the rubric according to student needs. So here I have 3 versions of the paper rough draft, and version 0, the other students, I individually assign them to the students. So no other student is aware that rough draft version 1 is a modified, slightly different version of the same assignment, and it has its own individual rubric. But I only publish it. Here we go. I've got 6 students down there. So I don't want to show you their names, but I do have 6 students only that are allowed to see that particular assignment. So that's how I'm working on differentiation. I'm kind of stuck because my grading system is called Skyward and it doesn't really sync well with Canvas, but that's been my only real challenge on differentiation. I haven't found, that's it. That's all I got. I'm enjoying doing this and I've gotten some participation from students and I feel like what's lacking is probably struggles on their side more so than on mine. But that's it. Thanks.
Awesome, Stephanie. I've got some questions for you and some homework for myself to do. I actually did learn yesterday when I was talking with Carice Redinger from Lewisville as well about the Flipgrid being unable to use in your district because of privacy issues. I do not know of a similar alternative, but I will look. I'll definitely do some homework on that and see, because it's a great tool. I like how it encourages students, and you know this, it encourages students to, the expressive learners to share their knowledge in different ways, and it's just fun. And then the videos are very short. But no, I don't know a good alternative yet, but I'll look to find one. I want to talk more about how you are able to publish different groups of assignments, if you would, on Canvas, because that's new to me. So would you, and I know there's some privacy issues with the students' names and whatever on that deal. So you can walk me through it as much as you can within your restrictions, please.
Sure. So typically I start with, let's just look at this one. So next week they're going to have a final draft of a paper due. So typically I would put in instructions right here, and this is dated. But anytime I edit an assignment in Canvas, it allows me to adjust points. It allows me to adjust assignment groups, but those have to stay the same for the purposes of grading. Sometimes I will do a complete or an incomplete as a way to differentiate. And then all these options for uploading, the real differentiation comes down here with assign to. I'm able to individually assign to students and or class periods. So what I'll try to do is click make a copy. I will make the original draft and then I will come up here and I can make a copy of that assignment. And then it's just a lot of time to go through and individually adjust different rubrics, but I name them differently in order to help myself remember the difference between them.
Okay, that's awesome. And it's just, I am able to do I've done everything except to assign different students, which that's an easy thing to do. So when a student goes into their Canvas account, since it's assigned to particular groups, they'll say I'm assigned to draft 2, I only see draft 2 showing up there.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I also do that with my quizzes because a lot of modifications and accommodations have to do, modifications, sometimes I'll either have to reduce options or rephrase or bold. So I will start with the standard and then often I will bold and make other accommodations and then I will make a copy of that version to further modify according to whatever is in their IEP.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I love that. Did you have other questions that I forgot to write down?
I don't think so. Not really. Just when we're talking about self-paced goal setting, do you guys recommend doing that on a weekly basis or on like a monthly? We're thinking weekly for students probably.
I actually advocate for both. I like the weekly because it's, you can provide really quick feedback every day and they can look at that, on a Friday afternoon, or I'm thinking real-time classroom, but I also like the long-term goal setting, especially when it comes to mastering all the TEKs to get ready for the state assessment. So I like to practice both methods, and we just kept those data records in just a simple folder that never left the classroom. We'd staple them in the kids' folders so they wouldn't get lost, and the kids did the logging themselves on those types of deals because it really engaged them in the process and held them more accountable than me logging all that data and just going through it myself. So I recommend both.
Wonderful. Yeah, hopefully I can implement that within the next few weeks and find a way. I imagine there's a pretty simple way for me to do it on Canvas. Canvas is very like it does almost everything. Part of my frustration is some of these tabs have not yet been accessed or used by my district, or I don't know if Canvas doesn't allow them. Maybe Canvas hasn't finished working on the collaborations tab, but it could have to do with privacy. Some of these tabs I've not been able to really work on. So something that I could improve, I would say, is collaboration between my students has been a struggle on how I can find a properly moderated format for them to do that in. What I've considered doing is perhaps a Google Doc where it's shared with multiple students. But since that is outside of the Canvas system, I don't want them to get too complicated. Right. I don't want to use another thing. So I haven't found a really good way yet to really get the students to do like a collaborative project or anything. That's one way that I would like to improve upon. I don't know if you have any suggestions for that.
Right. Well, just before our meeting started, I was looking through some of the work products that your colleagues have submitted, and one teacher, I don't recall where the teacher actually works at, but he submitted, it was all in the same document. It was a weekly log of I think they were logging exit ticket progress, and then on the same page, it was a weekly log of team progress. So I had never really seen one that included both an individual table for logging data and also a team accountability piece embedded in there as well. So as a team, they had to collaborate and work together to achieve a certain standard as a team. So that was a new one for me. I'm going back to your Canvas. I'm looking at your, marked out things you can't see. So you aren't able to integrate quizzes into your Canvas course?
No, so if the eyeball is crossed out, that means they can't see it. But the tabs that are not working for me as a teacher, at least the last time I tried them, was collaborations. Assignments is working fine, discussions is working fine. Conferences does not work. I don't know what collaborations or conferences is. Files is fine. Outcomes we haven't used yet. I've not been trained. I don't know what that is. I can use the quizzes, but I actually use the second version of quizzes, the quizzes next inside of Canvas. It's a little bit different than the tab over here, but I was told eventually Canvas would probably, or my district would get rid of this quizzes tab, and we would have to do it as an external tool when you create an assignment.
Interesting. Well, I can tell you from our experience with the online course, the collaborations is a place for our teachers to share, oh, I found this great resource and I'm going to throw it up here to share with the rest of the people in my section. Mm-hmm. Is it well used? No, it is not. But we do make it available for teachers to do that. And I'll reference it throughout some of the assignments. If you find good ideas or better resource articles to share here, throw them up in the collaboration section. But like I said, it's available, but it's not well used. But that's how we use the collaborations piece.
Yeah, that would be useful to me. Perhaps I can argue for it in my district next year for them to, I don't know.
For us, it turns it into a Google Doc.
Yeah, that sounds pretty perfect.
Okay.
So this is how I access Quizzes 2. I guess I use Quizzes 2 instead of Quizzes. It's as an external tool here. And when I make it like this, it ends up looking a little bit different. It ends up being this type of quiz, which I think the questions are formatted differently. I really like that I can create banks here in this version. I'm currently doing black holes, so I can organize all my questions and I can choose to add just, a couple of questions.
Awesome.
But it does definitely look different and it scores a little bit different than the other version of quizzes here. Okay.
Yeah, we personally don't have the Quizzes 2 option either in our instance of Canvas. We just have the normal one, or the original one. Something else you mentioned, the outcomes. I put those in some of the courses, but it's like the students will be able to blah, 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 blah. So again, that's really for maybe outsiders looking in. at least for our purposes. So the outcomes aren't that useful for us either.
Yeah. I don't know if that's where they had intended perhaps for me to put teaks and then I matched them to my units. That's what I imagined the purpose was. But
I agree.
not a priority, so it's definitely not something I've gotten to yet.
Right.
In modules, I have not set up any prerequisites because for my district, I'm not allowed to set late grades or anything like that, but I've kind of just set a sequence. So part of my struggle is making sure that my students are actually doing the lessons and not just skipping to learning experiences. But at the same time, if a student is, for instance, I put, the lesson here about the Big Bang, and they're scrolling to the bottom, they'll see all the instructions and they'll see a link to the assignment. I'm wondering, based on you guys having done this much more than me, should I leave the assignment just linked there in the page? I put it here simply for easy access, but do you guys feel like it would be better for me to remove those and to leave them embedded in the lessons?
Well, I'd say keep it the same, because we've had teachers, again, these are teachers, that will just click on the assignment tab and want to go right to the assignments.
Yeah.
And then they lose sight, like you said, of some really good information. Remind me, Stephanie, when did you complete the Foundations course? Was it this year or last year?
I think it was last year.
Okay, so a big change that we made to the Foundations course, which is an awesome change. I don't know why I didn't do it the first time around. Our modules are set up using the 5E format.
Okay.
So we have an introduction to the learning content, and then we have an engagement, and it's usually a video clip, and then we have an explore. And for the teachers, that's where they go out and either do the research or look at a specific tool. For your students, it'll be hopefully some sort of hands-on or lab type of activity that they explore. Then they explain, we have the teachers come, or you'd have your students come back in a discussion board and explain what they learned from the activity, then elaborate and evaluate. We're finding that flow of setup for the modules is very engaging, and it really ties in the purpose of the 5E learning cycle. And like I said, it's a great way to engage students in each piece of the 5E. So we've had a lot of good feedback about that, and our questions about confusion have almost diminished because of the new flows. So you might think about setting your module. I mean, this is all, maybe a project for next year, but setting your modules up in the 5E format, because it's very useful.
So your engage is a video typically. Your second E is I know what that E is. I just slipped my mind. What was it?
Yeah, it's explore. Explore.
And
so that's where our simulations and our labs and our virtual field trips and things like that come in for science.
Yes. And then you do a discussion for your explain, and then
a Padlet or the typical traditional discussion board, or some sort of collaborative share out of what they learned. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And evaluate and I missed the last E.
Yeah, elaborate and then evaluate. So the elaboration is, all right, let's take what we've learned, let's take this content and put a new spin on it, or think about it more critically. So that's just an extension. The elaboration is an extension to the previous activities.
Okay.
And then the evaluation, is your online quiz or your, yeah.
Okay, great. I've used 5E when I first started. I've been teaching this is going to be my 5th year. And I used 5E when I first started, but it has been a while. So when you set that up in modules, so you can see mine here. I enjoy using pages. It makes sense in my mind. I hope it does for the kids. And I usually start at the beginning. And I started doing this number thing with the question kind of subheading to help kids follow.
Yep.
So would you do like all 5 E's in one page? So I just kind of have like, let's do a quick video or a reading, and then more of an extension and connection to other lessons at the bottom. So do you have it all set up in one page, or do you do the 5 E's as like your weekly assessment? So I would have 5 different links here. And then
each of our E's is a page. You could do it either or. I like how we were kind of thinking when you showed me your page you just had up. I could easily see where number 1 could be the engagement, 2 and 2 could be explain and so on. But we actually set up each of the E's as its own page.
Okay. I feel
But
like
again,
that is logical and helps build on itself. I could definitely do that.